For many adults, life does not feel smooth or steady. It feels like an unrelenting uphill climb. You may be intelligent, sometimes exceptionally so. As a child, you may even have been called gifted, and yet, as a child, you find yourself struggling with things that are supposed to be basic: staying organized, managing time, finishing tasks, or even starting the things you know are important. Over time, especially in many Asian cultures where discipline, perseverance, and academic excellences are deeply valued, these struggles are often given one simple, crushing explanation: you are lazy. That single word can follow you for years. It shapes how others see you and eventually how you see yourself. But what if the thing you have been told is a character flaw is not a flaw at all? What if it is a biological reality that has been misunderstood? And more importantly, what if this lazy label is not only inaccurate, but actively harming your self esteem and blocking you from understanding how your brain actually works? In this video, we are going to step out of the laziness trap. We'll reframe your struggle not as a failure of willpower, but as a neurological mismatch between a hunter brain and a farmer world. Now, let me talk about the biological reality of ADHD. The first thing you need to understand clearly and without doubt is this: ADHD is real. It is not a myth created by pharmaceutical companies. It is not a result of bad parenting. And it is not caused by modern life alone. So ADHD is highly genetic neurobiological condition. In fact, it is one of the most genetically influenced psychiatric conditions known to science. Research consistently shows that heredity accounts for 70 to 80% of ADHD symptoms. This means that if you have ADHD, there is a strong chance that someone in your family, your parent, your sibling, or even your children share similar traits. At its core, ADHD is a condition of self regulation. Self regulation is the uniquely human ability to manage your behaviors, thought, and emotions over time in order to reach a future goal. In a neurotypical brain, the prefrontal cortex or PFC quietly manages this process. You can think of it like a calm, rational butler. It keeps track of time, reminds you where your keys are, helps you stay on task, and prevents emotional impulses from taking over. In the ADHD brain, however, this butler is often unreliable or temporarily missing. So instead of being guided by calm planning, the brain turns to a different system for motivation. It relies on emotional intensity, stress, anxiety, urgency, or even shame, the angry neighbor of the brain, to push action forward. This is not a choice, it's a compensation. This is what we call hunters in the farmer's world. To understand why adult life feels so hard, it helps to zoom out far beyond modern offices and classrooms and look at our evolutionary past. For nearly 90% of human history, we lived as hunters and gatherers. In that environment, the traits now we label as ADHD symptoms were not weaknesses, they were survival skills. Imagine a successful hunter. They needed to be easily destructible, constantly scanning the environment for danger or opportunity. They needed to be impulsive, able to act quickly when they appeared. They needed to be risk takers because hunting is dangerous, and they needed to thrive on novelty, excitement, and adrenaline. Now, contrast that with the farmer. When agriculture emerged around 10,000 years ago, a very different brain profile became valuable. Farmers had to tolerate boredom, sit still for long periods, and perform repetitive tasks while waiting months for results. They needed a linear sense of time and the ability to delay gratification. Our modern world, the world of classrooms, offices, schedules, and spreadsheets, is a farmer's world. It rewards those who can sit still, follow repetitive instructions, manage time precisely, and remain motivated without stimulation. If you have ADHD, you are not broken. You are a hunter living in a farmer's world. Your brain is wired for novelty, urgency, movement, and rapid response. That is why routine, repetitive, adulting tasks don't just feel boring, they feel physically painful and exhausting. Now, let me talk about knowledge versus performance. Why trying harder fails. One of the most confusing and demoralizing experience of adult ADHD is the gap between what you know and what you do. You likely know exactly what needs to be done, like pay the bill, start the report, reply to the message, keep the promise. And it, at the moment when action is required, something inside you stalls. This is because ADHD is not a disorder of knowledge. It is a disorder of performance, specifically at the point of performance. Your intelligence is intact, your understanding is clear, but the executive system responsible for turning intention into action is very unreliable. This is why the phrase, you have so much potential if you only tried harder, is so damaging. It assumes a lack of effort or willpower when the real issue is neurological. You can imagine a Ferrari with the brakes of a bicycle. You have a powerful engine that's creativity, intelligence inside, but your braking system, impulse control, and inhibition doesn't work efficiently. Telling someone with ADHD to just focus is like telling a nearsighted person to just see better. It ignores the biological limitation entirely. Now, let me talk about expectation, shame, and the deep wound. In many Asian cultures, expectations are not just personal, they are collective. Family reputation, academic success, and discipline are deeply intertwined with intensity, with identity. When you repeatedly fail to meet these expectations because of undiagnosed ADHD, the emotional cost is enormous. This is where the shame enters. Guilt says, I did something bad. Shame says, I'm a bad. After years of being labeled lazy, irresponsible, or careless, many adults internalize these judgments. The wound to self esteem becomes deeper than the ADHD symptoms themselves. To survive, many people begin masking, pouring enormous energy into appearing normal, disciplined, and capable. They hide their struggles, overcompensate, and push themselves beyond their limits. But this constant pretending is very exhausting, and it often leads to a painful sense of being an imposter, living with the fear that one day the truth will be exposed. Now, let's talk about how we can move beyond the laziness trap. The first and most powerful step forward is self knowledge. When you recognize that your struggle comes from neurological differences, not moral failures, something begins to soften. You're not a lazy farmer, you are a capable hunter who needs different strategies to survive in this environment. By understanding the why behind your behavior, why you crave stimulation, why time slips away, why starting boring tasks feels impossible, you can begin to replace self blaming with self compassion. Thank you for watching. In the next video of this series, we will explore how these 100 traits show up in daily life as restlessness, time blindness, emotional storms, and burnout. We'll not talk about fixing you because you're not broken. We will talk about understanding your Ferrari engine so you can stop fighting with your brain and begin living a life that feels more authentic, colorful, and human. Thank you again. See you in the next video.